Hola, world leaders. Welcome to this Hearthside session. I'm so happy to be here with you all. I'm Diego Nunez. I'm the founder of World Leadership, the place where thought leadership converges. World Leadership is an ecosystem that helps leaders grow, learn, and connect with like-minded peers. And what do I mean with ecosystem is that we have events, we have community, we will have training, we will have a ton of content for leaders. Doesn't matter if you're a design leader, a product leader, a tech leader, whatever, we will be speaking about leadership, about hiring, growing teams, de-scaling teams, working with other teams, working with other companies. So that's what we all about. Today we are hosting a Hearthside session. So you usually see fireside chats, but I don't like that name. I like Hearthside session because it's the place in a house. I don't own a house like that, but when you have the fireplace and you have the tables, it's like a nice living room. So that's the feeling we want to give to this conversation. So everybody can speak freely. You can speak about the things you want to discuss, always with respect and about leadership. So welcome to this session. Today we'll be discussing about the value of design. It sounds like it's, hey, Diego, everybody knows the value of design, but no. As you have seen in the market, there's a ton of design leaders without a job. There's a ton of design teams de-scaling. There's a ton of design misconceptions. So we will be discussing about this. And for this session, I have two amazing friends. I met Venessa in San Francisco for the Figma event, and I met Claudia in Sao Paulo a couple of weeks ago. So Venessa, thank you so much for being here. Venessa is the head of UX at Cazoo. Cazoo is like a Carvana for UK or like Kavak in Brazil. Kavak in Brazil. She is an amazing leader. I real life. And welcome, Venessa. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for the intro. You made me feel epic.
And we also have Claudia. She is another amazing leader from Brazil. So I'm trying to have this conversation with people from outside the US. Of course, the US have enormous companies, but Anheuser and Busch, it's located, at least the design team, the main design team in Brazil. So that's an amazing thing. So Claudia, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thanks. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Okay. This session will be in English, even though most of you speak Portuguese and Claudia speaks Portuguese, but we're trying to make this content available for the most people possible. So we will start, and we will start with a simple question that it's sometimes hard to answer, and is, how does your company define design, Venessa? Because before you answer, still big companies think design is like building logos and brands and building now experience. So how does your company define design at the moment?
Yeah, that's a good question. In terms of design, we've got a UX team. So the bulk of designers are UX team, but it's a combination of different competencies. So we've got content design, we've got UX research, and we've also got product designers. So and the way we work is different based on the different areas. So we have internal systems, which is more like service design type work, and then you've got the UX researchers who are more in that strategic area. So thinking ahead, looking at future goals, and trying to shape those early. And then you've got the product designers that are almost working in the now and shape and working with engineers and product to really shape products essentially. So that's kind of how we work and how we define design. Yeah, so we're working in different areas to prove and to show different aspects of value.
Okay, and what about you, Claudia? Both companies are enormous, but AB InBev, it's a corporation that it's been here. Well, it's been working for so many years. So what about that?
Yeah, we have more or less 270 designers around the company, and in my team, 60. So design for us, it's about experience and the experience here is looked for end-to-end in an omnichannel view. So design is not separate from the product. Have the best design is not enough if the product stretches is not good and if it's a poorly developed. So I'm even starting to see a movement in the market towards the unification of product and design area, like call it the product family. It's very new here. And where design leaders also lead the product. So for us, design is a good business and design is strategy.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, design reports to product or product design? No.
No, we are a family, so design is
You're
part of product.
your own department?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the next question. Design reports to who in your company, Claudia? Do you report to tech? Do you report to who?
And the design discipline is very new, started in 90s. So it's very common for design to report a CTO or a product director. As the new area is new, we have a few qualified design leaders to talk about business metrics. And therefore, we don't guarantee a seat at the table to discuss strategically. This scenario has been evolving over the last 3 or 5 or 4 years. And with this, design becomes a strong pillar in the structure of companies. So here in Brazil, we are starting to see designers become directors and vice presidents. And now the teams are reducing and being charged more return on investment. Well, here we are a trio. So product design and tech. And therefore, we work as a peer and report to the vice president of the DTC, is a direct to consumer, and the global director officer in InBev in the company. So we report to business.
Okay, I haven't heard that before. Have you ever heard about that, Venessa?
I have heard about that. At Cazoo, we're slightly different. So we're probably following the trends of all the other kind of companies. So we sit in tech. So the UX team sit in tech, and then the UX team report into a product director. So I report into a product director, and then the UX team is below me. But I would say, similar to what Claudia said, is we work really closely with product. So there is this kind of co-owning of product between design and the product managers. The bulk of the designers are sitting within cross-functional teams. So they're working with engineering and they're working with product managers. So they kind of co-own that experience. But ultimately, UX reports into product. At my level, I'm working really closely again with the head of product and head of engineering. So it is, although you've got those reporting lines, it's still very collaborative. And we're trying to break down some of those silos, because ultimately from a UX perspective, you own the experience of the product and you need engineering to build it, but you also need that business side of things.
Okay, thank you so much. Anybody has a question before I jump into the next one? If you do, please unmute yourself.
Or in the chat, it could be in Portuguese and we translate.
You can ask in Portuguese and we can translate that.
No problem.
Or in Spanish or whatever language you want. If not, okay, I will go to the next one. And this is something cool. Like, how do you prove the value of design in your company? You mentioned, Claudia, that you are working with business leaders, which might be easier because they will ask you like, hey, this is what I need, this is what I want. But at the same time, it's like oh, how can I make this translation from design work to business value? So can you tell us about that?
This is a very good question. So for a long time, I found this question extremely difficult to answer. But the truth is, there are many ways. And in my opinion, the first mistake is to want to measure only the design. As I said, design is an experience, and experience is measured by the whole. So I I prepared some examples to make it easier. And can I share my screen?
Yes, you can.
Okay, let's try explain this in English. So, how we work. Normally, we have tribes, and these tribes works with OKRs, and we have some generic metrics for the tribes. So, example, here we have the journey, we have the tribes, the objectives of these tribes, and here we have the normally same metrics, example, NPS or churn app, evaluation in stars, Google Play, and here we have some KPIs. How this starts? We use North Star metric. What is the main metric of the business? And with this, what KPIs we are looking for?
Mm-hmm.
With these KPIs and with this North Star metric, we can, I bring for example more, and this is the output metric, time spent listening music in Spotify. And here, how the clients create a playlist or discover new music this is the framework that you use. After this, we try to find a hypothesis to connect to this output metric, this North Star metric. And so we have the main objectives, the KRs, and what hypothesis we can connect to test and learn to bring the results for the company. So all this we create together, product and design, in a co-creation. With this, we can have more examples. Design can be measured by head design or by reviews in the stores. Example, DAC is a app here in Brazil and launch a new version of the app with a head design. And we can see after the head design how many people available with five stars or have a good opinion about the app. So this is measured by design. Another option we can look for measured team of design. How many initiatives we have, how many deliveries we have, or
Claudia, how do you decide what is the North metric or the North Star of the metrics and all of these metrics? Who decides these, or what's the process to decide these?
who decides is the leadership. So example here, and me and my pair, the director pair and the tech pair, and we have discussed the main metric connected to the company objectives. And after this, we have some workshops with the tribes and squads that they have a deep dive in this material. Example, this material is made by squad. Example, this is our North Star and the team's questions. What can I do for the next quarter to achieve this objective? So we are looking for many opportunities, and we prioritization this in 3 views: short view, medium view, and long view. And with this, we have this Excel with all initiatives and hypotheses, and we can filter here and to the next quarter we can discover this, figure out this, and what metric this can be impacted. So NPS, revenue, and with this we can have a strategic view for the product in a long view. So it's very, very cool. And here we have another options to measure design. Example, using design system and calculate how many costs we reduce and in time and in money. Example, here, if I use just one component, I can save 5 hours and the value of the hour is 200 reals. So in 2 weeks, we can save how many. So I can prove this. And other examples is, we changed the onboard app, and after this change, that design push, we increase 30% of the new users and more or less 4% of the transactions. So we can measure design, flow, and product together. Like this, when you look for the top of the funnel and check the drop, and design looks this, and we have a big opportunity here. Change the screen, and when change, compare the metrics. So for me, it's very easy show how the ROI of design, how the impact of design. I have many possibilities here. And one more, it's measure the usability, not the design. That's, I don't know if you already know about this metric, but it's like a SOS, SOS. You can measure books results. It's a metric for measure what the user needs, the frustration, ease to use, and efficiency. And we can put this in parts of the flow, and we have a NPS of experience and usability. So I put here some examples and material to learn more with us, and I can share this link for more informations if anyone here have questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Claudia. So my question goes with Walter's, is where do these team metrics come from, and which tools are you using, and where do you generate this dashboard? And before you answer that, when you joined this new company, the Anheuser and Busch, did they have all of these process to measure everything, or are you implementing this since you joined?
This is a long for my journey. Each company have one way. Example, if you don't have data, you can use the mux. If you have data, you can use the amplitude or funnel. Depends of the company.
Okay. So do you want to answer where do these team metrics come from, and which tools are you using, and where do you generate this dashboard? From Walter Friafilo.
Não sei se eu entendi.
It's in the chat. I think in Portuguese is essas métricas do time BEM de onde?
Okay. This metrics is from product and from the dashboard and data team. And we can ask for product team or data team to share with us. And from the main objective of the company, North Star objective.
Okay. So thank you, Claudia. Venessa, how do you prove the value of UX design in your company? How have you been doing that? Do you have this amount of numbers? Do you have the help as Claudia has? Like, it seems like Claudia has a ton of support from other areas of the business. What about you, Venessa?
Yeah, so it's similar to how Claudia described. We work with OKRs. So we have OKRs and company objectives that are set every quarter. And then the top line metrics come from the business. So essentially we want to improve unit economics by X. And then what will then happen is the teams will work with their business stakeholders to work out how they're going to, what metrics that they can impact. As the designers are part of those teams, those cross-functional teams. So that's basically what they're working towards. But what I'd say is day to day, I think one of the things that's really key for the designers in my team is to make sure that when they're talking about their designs and they're going through the designs, they're actually articulating the business value and how this is going to move or affect those metrics. So it could be by an A/B test that they've done, or maybe something else that they've done. And when they're articulating and playing that back, they're able to say, well, this is how it's going to affect this metric. So that's from a team level. The other thing that we are doing is with the UX researchers, they're actually in their strategic position. So they work with our business stakeholders and the idea is for them to be working a quarter ahead. So they work a quarter ahead on themes that come from the business stakeholders, and we're able to shape the OKRs from the research that they're doing, so that the OKRs are research and user-led and UX-led. And that's how we're trying to just shape things from a design perspective.
Okay, thank you so much, Vanessa. Anybody has a question before we jump into the next one? This is your chance to get the go ahead, Claudia.
No, just one point. We use A/B tests in all what we do. So we measure and compare what changes and color, buttons, illustrations, new design is all this, but depends of the data maturity of the company.
Okay, thank you. I missed that question from the chat. So this is your chance to ask someone that works in a startup-like company like Cazoo, or in a big corporation as Claudia. So if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand and I will give you the word. Or in the chat, you can, if you're afraid of speaking in English. Okay, Janet, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Hello to you both, and all three of you, actually. I am wondering, I know you talked about that, you're in a very big company, Claudia, and I know Venessa is in a smaller. Have you found, and I don't know your longevities at each place, but have you found over either the years you've been at that company or the time you spent at the company or the years you spent in the business, that there have been differing relationships with design and product? Or in your experiences, have they been sort of the same?
Vanessa, please.
As an example, sometimes I'll just say in my certain experiences, design very much drove, and then product 100% drove. So I'm just wondering about other people's experiences with that within the types of places that you've been.
Yeah, I think it's evolved. It's an evolving situation. I think when I first joined, this was over 2 years ago, the company was growing. It was going for fast growth. It was very much following the Spotify model of teams. So you had the product trio. But as the market has changed and it's all about profitability, and everyone in the company needs to prove their worth, essentially. The kind of idea around design has changed, where we go from we need a designer in every team to maybe we don't need a designer in every team. And from a design perspective, what we've had to do is pivot and really focus on those top priorities. So what are the top priorities, and what are the things that as design we can make an impact? Because there's no point in being a designer in a team where it's just like more of a back-end type thing, where as a designer, we're not really going to prove that impact. So we've really had to shift around impact and choosing our battles, essentially. I think what hasn't changed and has always been kind of, I guess, an evolving situation is working with product. And I think if you look at that product, the product trio between design, product, and engineering, there isn't really much that design actually owns. Which becomes problematic when you're looking at cost cutting, essentially. So it's what I've been working with my team is really trying to work out, okay, so how do we work with product, and how can we create an impact within the teams, and how can we make space for the designers to be able to do what they do best. And I think it's that partnership between product and building that partnership between product that we've been really working on in the last kind of year or so.
And here, I believe this is a construction. The teams invited to participate to the process, and the structure of the company help this happen. Example, design works in pair with product. So in all squads, we have just one product designer and one more research or content designer. So we push some workshops, usability tests together, go to the outsides of the company with the development. So it's a construction to have more maturity in design. And here we measure our capabilities too, just to show. we have two examples more. A portfolio of experiments. So what's the here? Here it's what's our management skills. So we can measure this technically, business detail, and culture and leadership. So what we can improve to help the culture in the company and maturity of design in the company. And also we have this. It's a dashboard in Notion dashboard to share our experiments, portfolio, and design we have. So A/B tests, concept tests, usability tests, and what squads. It's the owner of this, how we discover with this. So this maturity is shared in all teams. So.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. Vanessa, is that a good answer, Janet?
Yeah, no, I mean, no answer is a good answer because I mean, they're all good answers, but I just find it intriguing the way different people do it and how the teams are either accepting. A lot of people, we fought to get quote at the table, which I know everybody hates that word. And then now there's been a lot of pushback towards that, at least in the States. There's been a lot, like whole design teams being eliminated. And then it's the quote, that ownership. Everybody wants to own it. And my last place, engineering, thought they owned it because they did the code for it. So but it's still an experience, and when you do that, when you fight for ownership, then you're at a loss because nobody should own it. You all should be doing it together. I just was wondering how other people's teams are adjusting. And, over the last 10 years, design has really changed and it's become very important and very known. And then all these people have jumped into digital and kind of swallowed certain parts of it.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Thank you so much, Janet. So we will start to speak about culture and working with products. So before we jump into that topic, anybody has a question or a comment about what we were discussing, the value of design?
One another way we use it in my last company is use the OKR to do this. The same OKR for all teams. Example, implement a design system. So if you have this objective, you need to understand more what is, how can do implement it. So this can help.
Okay, so I will be asking about how do you collaborate with product and what's the relationship, not like the guides you have at your company. It's like how easy is to discuss with them, because I've been hearing from executives that sometimes a simple word as being humble makes things easier, but more, in their experience, like designers always want to come in and say, hey, design thinking will solve everything. Let's do design thinking, let's do design sprints, let's do design everything for the whole company, right? And yes, all of you are professionals, all of you are adults and are great minds, but there's an ego, there's money involved, there's jobs involved. So how do you work better with product if you are working good? If you're not working in a good way, how are you trying to make this process better, or at least less rough? So Venessa, please.
Yeah, so I see product as basically a co-partner to me. So I work very, very collaboratively with the head of product. I make sure I'm involved in the product strategy. I think one of the key things is to kind of work out what gap you as a designer or a design leader can fill. And I think where design really comes into play is obviously design thinking, but also bringing in insights and research. So bringing in insights and research that can support the product strategy, but also I think where I've kind of got to is our job is to really visualize the vision. So I think a lot of like product strategies are a lot of words, a lot of kind of very airy fairy type stuff, but it's really difficult to kind of work out, well, what does this actually mean? What does this actually look like? And I think that's an opportunity for design to get involved. And that's where you can get into like North Star design. So similar to what Claudia mentioned earlier around North Star designs and North Star metrics. And that will help like the whole team, all the teams understand this is where we're driving towards, this is where we're looking towards. And I think once you've got that strategy and once design's involved in the strategy side of it, everything else almost just falls into place. Because you've got design involved at the beginning. From a cross-functional team perspective, again, I just encourage my team to be really close and have a close relationship with product. So again, design has the unique, the unique perspective that we are building stuff or we're designing what was being built, but also we know our users and we know the feedback from our users as well. So we're kind of that overlap and that bridge. And I think that's where we have the advantage.
Absolutely. The product team don't want to hear about process design, but how we bring information that helps the product. This is the main point. So here we work together and we mapping of customer pain points, mapping journeys, mapping opportunities to this, create hypotheses together. So for me, the best way is involving and design in all parts of the process. Involve product team. Example, why not design managers have one-on-one sessions with product managers? How no? We can have one time in the week to discuss the strategy of the product together. Why not? We can discuss the pain points of the client and what opportunities we have to improve the product. So when design start to talk about product, not just about process design, we work together and the results come.
Yeah, thank you. A few months ago, we had a private conversation with VPs from enormous companies like the size of PayPal's and this. And what they told me is like, Diego, I think as a design leader, what you have to do to work better with other teams, not only product, but also is coming with humility, like say, hey, how can I help? These are the tools I have. I want to help. Don't come and say, hey, I will solve everything. Design will solve everything. It's like to be, how can I be a part of this? Like, if you have this question like, hey, I want to work better with other teams, but I don't know how to do it, it's just asking, hey, how can I support you, right? Like, I know you have, well, all of us have egos and nobody wants to be the helper, right? Like everybody wants, hey, I solved the company, I solved this huge problem. But if you want to work with others at that level, with executives, is being, how can I be helpful? So anybody has a question about this or a comment before we jump into I think we are almost in time. We have 4 more minutes. So it's your chance to speak before we close the event. Erika, do you want to say something?
Hi. Yes. I don't know how you see girls and anybody else, because in Brazil, I'm in the market today. They are looking, the jobs states are always more generalists or are growing to be generalists. Do you feel this? Because as I saw your company give me the impression that you don't work that way, at least Venessa. But I'm on the market now and looking for all the jobs that are available, or I already was generalist in Caesars, that's the company where I worked, but I wanted to know how this is going, or where this is going. Are we going to general side, or are we going to more specific, or do you see this still a little, I don't know, confused from company to company, or I don't know if the word is confused, but.
Claudia, I think, well, you're in Brazil, so maybe you have a more accurate answer for this question.
Here in Brazil, you use more product designers because the company don't have money to pay specialists. So visual or UX. So we use product designers, but we use more and specializes in content ops and research. So normally these teams is across teams to support the design team. This is the most normal.
Okay, do you have an answer for that, Vanessa, from the UK perspective? Or do your company hire across Europe or just UK?
Just in the UK.
Okay.
What I would say is there's like looking out in the market, it's very confusing because everyone is using multiple different types of job descriptions and job titles. So it's very, very confusing at the moment. And there's new job titles that are coming in play and all of these other things. But what I would say is where we've got a trend of a lot of layoffs, companies looking at profitability, teams becoming a lot leaner, it's probably to your benefit to be a generalist, because you'll probably have those the small to mid-sized companies, which will have smaller, leaner teams. But I think you always have those bigger companies that will want a content designer, UX researcher, product designers, and UX designers. So I think it depends on what companies you want to go for. But I think it's definitely a benefit to you that you're more of a generalist, because you can go to those different companies and you can flex your skills accordingly. But yeah, I think the trend will be bigger companies will still have those big design teams. But I think those mid-sized to small size spaces will have a lot leaner teams with a lot more generalist people.
Okay. Thank you, Erika. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
So anybody has another question before we close this amazing panel with Vanessa and Claudia? If so, please raise your hand or write in the chat. Okay, so before we end this conversation, I want to thank you, all of you, especially Vanessa and Claudia, for being here. World Leadership, it's an open space, so we will be discussing more leadership. Next week, we will be talking about dev relations, leadership, embracing ambiguity, and navigating tech. So if you want to learn how to have a better communication with developers, with marketing, and how to impact the business in this way, please join us next week at the same time. Every week we have a conversation, and in a couple of weeks, we will be speaking about diversity in Germany, in Munich specifically. So it will be an amazing event. We have a ton of content for leadership. If you want to keep discussing a topic with me, please reach out. All about leadership. My email is Diego@World Leadership. I'm still thinking, I still have my InVision email in my head, so it will go away soon. So Diego@worldleadership.co, or in LinkedIn, Diego Núñez. You can see on Claudia's profile or Vanessa profile if you come from there. And please reach out if you have questions, if you want to connect, if you want to learn, if you want to be a panelist on one of our roundtables or events, please reach out. Vanessa, thank you so much. Anything you want to say, how people can connect with you if they want, or if you want?
Yeah, thank you, Diego, for organizing. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so just add me on LinkedIn, which is Venessa Bennet, and I will add you. If anyone wants to have, I'm open for anyone who wants to have a conversation afterwards, or if anyone's got any additional questions, just message me on LinkedIn.
Also, Vanessa has a ton of experience about diversity, about women in leadership, just like Claudia. Vanessa is working a lot on that. But she's an amazing designer and design leader. When I saw her at Figma, everybody was like, "Are you the Vanessa from Cazoo? Are you that Vanessa?" And I got like, "Yes, she was." But please be careful. She's Vanessa with E, Vanessa, not Vanessa. So if you want to look for her, Vanessa. And Claudia, thank you so much for being here with us. I know both of you are super busy and are managing big teams and big projects, so thank you so much. Claudia lives in Sao Paulo. I don't know if that information is available, but she's helping the Brazilian market, the Mexican market, and I think market from Argentina. So if you are looking for a job, well, not for a job, she doesn't give jobs away, but if you want to know more about the market in big enterprises, if you want to be a part of her classes, I think she has a leadership course. Please reach out to her, Claudia.
And thanks for the space and for getting me out of the language comfort zone.
Yeah, Claudia speaks amazing Portuguese. Vanessa is amazing English. I broken Spanish, broken English, as Janet might know, and broken Portuguese. My dad was from Bahia, so my Portuguese is Baiano. If you don't understand it like Bishi, I think Bruno is Baiano also. So thank you. All of you, Vanessa, Claudia, thank you so much. Please subscribe to LinkedIn, subscribe to YouTube. We have content about leadership. If you want to know more about what we are doing, please reach out. We will have a in real life event in a couple of months in Austin or here in Mexico City. Please reach out and we can keep working. So thank you so much, everybody, and see you next week to talk about dev relations, leadership, and embracing ambiguity and navigating tech. Thank you.
See
so
you.
much.
Bye bye. Thank you.